2634, and that's the proposed amendments to agreements between Ryerson University and the City of Toronto. Sam, the record man, signage. Quite a few deputants here, and I have Nicholas Jennings, G. Chung, Michael Brooks, Sean Bolton, Julia Hannesberg, Bruce Piercy, Kurt Swinghammer, Aaron McGinn, and there may be more. So if we could start, if you're here to address this, I'm going to ask people to come up in this order, starting with Nicholas Jennings, Guy Chung, and Michael Brooks. Nicholas Jennings here. Hello. You can pass me a note if you don't. Are you? Sorry. And then Guy Chung. Thank you very much. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And hello.
You have up to 5 minutes.
Okay. Hello, councillors. I'm here with two purposes. One, I've been asked to read a letter on behalf of the Snyderman family, which I believe you have a copy of in front of you. It reads from Robert Snyderman. I regret that I am unable to attend today's meeting to address you personally, but I am out of the country attending to a personal family matter. In my absence, my brother Jason and I have asked Nicholas Jennings to read this statement, which I'm now going to do. The cumulative effect of the agreements that were signed in 2008 among Ryerson University, the City of Toronto, and our company was to permit the use of our trademarks so that the Sam the Record Man signs would be reinstalled in the Yonge Street redevelopment or on the Gould Street facade of the Ryerson Student Learning Centre. Ryerson knows that any commemoration plan other than the reinstallation of the signs requires our approval. It was only after the staff action report was released with an alternative plan that Ryerson even made an attempt to contact us. My brother and I support the reinstallation of the signs as per the existing signed agreement and know that our father would have most certainly wanted that to happen. I trust that this will assist you with your decision. Respectfully, Bobby Snyderman. So I've done my duty in reading that on behalf of Robert Snyderman. I'd now like to make a presentation to the council. My name is Nicholas Jennings. I am a journalist, historian, and graduate of Ryerson. I've spent my entire career writing about music, including books, TV documentaries, and for 20 years as feature writer and reviewer for Maclean's magazine. One of my books, Before the Gold Rush, focused on the history of Toronto's music scene in the 1960s, especially that of the Yonge Street Strip. I also lead walking tours exploring the Strip's musical history. Yonge Street from Queen to Gerrard during the 1950s and 60s was a hotbed of entertainment, and the entire stretch was lit by the dazzling neon signs of dozens of live music clubs, all featuring local and international jazz, blues, country, soul, and rock and roll acts. And I had planned to list a lot of the clubs and the storied history behind a lot of the clubs between Queen and Gerrard Street, but in the interest of time, I'm going to just allow you to read those that I've submitted and jump ahead to my conclusion here. Yonge Street was the birthplace of the Toronto sound, the fusion of rhythm and blues and rock made famous by local bands like the Mandela, Steppenwolf, John Lee and the Checkmates, David Clayton Thomas and the Shays, and the group that went on to become world famous, known simply as the Band. Here's what Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Robbie Robertson of the Band has to say about that era. Quote, Toronto was a mecca of talent in the 1950s and 60s. It was the center of Toronto's nightlife and entertainment. There should be more of an effort to preserve that center. Yonge Street shouldn't become a discarded part of the history of the city, unquote. I might add, nor should it be sanitized as to eradicate all traces of that era. Toronto needs reminders of Yonge Street's rich cultural past. The Sam's neon sign is just that kind of reminder. It stood smack in the middle of the Yonge Street Strip, casting a glow that drew millions to its three creaky, uneven floors, which were decorated with posters, promotional banners, autographed artist photos, and contained aisle upon aisle of 400,000 records across all genres. Visiting artists from Liberace and Tony Bennett to Elton John and Alice Cooper frequented the store, while the diversity of Sam's selections became a vital source of influence for many Canadian musicians. The Sam's neon sign was a landmark for Torontonians and visitors alike, and was certainly the most identifiable symbol of Toronto until the CN Tower came along. Its preservation and resurrection on Yonge Street would be an entirely appropriate way to recognize the city's past in an ultimately very cool way. As a friend of mine put it, it sure beats a tombstone in the sidewalk and a brass plaque on the wall. Although I might add that a brass plaque would provide the sign with some useful contextual information. Madam Chairman and councillors, you did the right thing in 2008 in trying to give the SAMS sign a heritage designation. You also did the right thing in reaching an agreement with Ryerson, my alma mater, to ensure that the signs would be remounted on Yonge Street. Now you have a chance to do the right thing again and reject these proposed amendments. Save the SAMS sign and see that it is reinstalled where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I have a question that in its current form, it's not a very environmentally friendly sign. Do you have any suggestions about that?
Yes, well, Madam Chair, I think that I have concerns with the report that you have before you from the city staff because it basically relies on information provided by Ryerson and its architect. And I think that what it behooves the council to do is to look for additional independent information. At the very least, the issue of environmental safety should be checked with neon sign experts. And I might reference the Toronto Star article that appeared yesterday, in which the designers of the SAMS neon sign and many, many, many other neon signs across the city and in other parts of the world, the Markle brothers, world-famous designers of neon signs, have very strong views and opinions that I think the council should consider, rather than just going with the information that you have before you in the staff report.
Is that about neon?
That's about neon, yes.
Could you tell me what they had to say?
Well, I would have to pull out the article.
That's fine.
I
If
can-
you
I
have
can
it,
submit
maybe
the
you could leave
the
it
Toronto
with
Star
us.
article from
Yeah.
yesterday lists a lot of the Markle brothers' views about the safety of neon. And one of the points they make, Madam Chairman, is that if mercury in neon signs was really an environmental hazard, New York City and Tokyo and all kinds of places around the world would be, in trouble. And I think it's a very good point. I don't know that it's been fully proven that neon is an environmental hazard. And even if it was, Madam Chairman, I would think that the resources that Ryerson has within its staff and student body could look at innovative ways to come up with alternatives then to illuminating the sign. I mean, Ryerson has put forward a number of arguments, including the cost and of illuminating the sign. Well, why not come up with some innovative solutions to that? I mean, Ryerson is a brain trust. Go back to the Ryerson community itself and ask for solutions. Another point Ryerson brings up in the report before you is that, well, unfortunately, the sign doesn't fit with the design. Well, Madam Chair, with all due respect to Ryerson and its architectural firm, I have a hard time with that because they knew from the get-go that they were to incorporate the SAMS neon sign. So why come up with a design that is incompatible with that?
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Matlow, you have some.
About those 2 points. The argument that we've heard from some, including staff, around the environmental concerns and mercury leakage in the case of fire, et cetera, is this new information since Ryerson signed an agreement to retain and preserve and remount the sign?
Councillor Matlow, I believe it is new information. At least it is to me. I haven't heard that argument before about the environmental issues.
What I mean is it a new information that Ryerson was dealing with neon? Should they be surprised?
No, I see your point. I see your point. No, it's not new information. They've known for 6 years now.
Do you also understand another argument that we've heard regarding design, and you mentioned it well. Ryerson now says that the sign doesn't fit into their design of the new structure. But if they had signed an agreement in 2008, why do you understand why they would not design a structure that would accommodate the very sign that they committed to remounting upon it?
It baffles me, frankly, Councillor. It baffles me that they wouldn't have. I mean, they knew in advance they had to incorporate it, so they've clearly dropped the ball on the design.
And lastly, why do you believe that it's important to remount the sign in the neighborhood, in the area where it originally was, rather than put it on some building in elsewhere or another city, or at the worst case scenario, store it hidden from public view in some Ryerson facility?
Because I believe that Toronto needs reminders of its cultural heritage, and they should be prominent and mixed in with modern design. I mean, the old and the new works very well together, and I think the Sam sign would be actually a very cool addition to the side of the Ryerson building. It's an opinion that's shared by many, many in the music industry. I don't know why the agenda doesn't contain Gordon Lightfoot's letter. It was submitted and should have been in the documents there. And there was also a letter that came from the national organization Music Canada, representing all the major record labels in Canada. That was also submitted to the committee. I didn't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it. But it should be in your documents. And Music Canada states that they believe that Ryerson should be held to its agreement and made to put up the sign, because that was the deal, and it would honor Toronto's cultural heritage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Not, thank you very much for coming, Mr. Jennings.